This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
Another Star Wars podcast presents We Have Spoken, aka Transforming into Bob, or the Book of Boba Fett. Welcome to Bob. We're back. Sean, Mike, and Damien going to bring every episode to you, all 7 of them, to your eardrums, to your eyesight. New this season, we're going to bring this podcast to video. Check out YouTube at Another Star Wars channel. You can find all the links at bio.link/extra techie. Make sure you follow Extra Techie on all the socials. Check out the bio.link for all of the relevant links. And of course, make sure you follow Mike and Damien on the socials if you choose. Check out Casa de Dupree, an up-and-coming channel about all sorts of things nerdy. Damien does a good job, but enough about that. We're here to tackle the Book of Boba Fett, a Disney Plus series veering off from the Mandoverse and hopefully coming back to it as we patiently await Mandalorian Season 3. Listen up as we tackle each episode, talk hot takes, and of course, give you our one-sentence summary. Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and let's do this thing. We have a bounty hunter to catch up with, and from what I hear, he's pretty legendary. Well, hello, everyone. The boys of We Have Spoken, a.k.a. We Are Bob, a.k.a. Bob, B.O.B. We're back on a Thursday evening. It is January 6th, but you wouldn't know that from my Christmas decorations in the background. If you're joining us on YouTube, welcome. If you're joining us through the audio stream, well, I hope you're driving safe. That's what I can say. That's what I can tell you. We're excited to be back in the recording studio. We're excited to bring to you the following agenda. We're going to recap the episode. We're going to give you our tops. We're going to give you our bottoms. We're going to tell you things we noticed. We're going to explain or go into our one-sentence summaries and some predictions to the next episode. And we're going to all bring it to you in hopefully under a short hour. So you're listening to this on your commute, or you're listening and watching us during dinner time with your family because you're that weird. We've got Mike, we've got Damien. We're recording this at 10:15 p.m. because we're super dedicated to the craft. And I was late to the party, but that's okay. Damien is in the house. I can't quite read your hat. What are you wearing tonight?
Rocking some of that LaSalle University there in the very safe area of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. No crime whatsoever. Fresh grocer, though, which is nice.
Perfect. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're back. You put out some great content already on the YouTubes. Make sure you check him out on Casa de Dupree. He is going to obliterate my Extra Techie subscription channel numbers in less time than it took me to build up the same amount. So good for you, buddy. And then, of course, we have representing City Sports. Mr. Mike is here. Little people in the background. Yes, we have kids. It is what it is.
Yep.
What's going on, buddy?
Same old. I won my fantasy football league this week. So I am $1,000 richer. Ooh. So that makes me happy.
That's huge.
That's awesome, man. Jeez.
Not 1,000. 700.
Well, then that's terrible. That's just terrible. Listen, I'm not saying that you should, but the AT-AT is $700.
It is.
And you have 2 houses.
I do have 2 houses.
But that 700 is bonus money. It's bonus. It doesn't count against the spread. So I think you should spend it wisely and maybe use your VIP points.
I think I might do the same thing I did with my check that I got from teaching summer school for your bachelor party, which was put the last bit of it all in black and try to double it. It ended up working out for me at your
Yes, it did.
party.
Yes, it did. That night, it worked out beautifully. We had a great time.
I have anxiety just thinking about you putting $700 down on black. My heart is sweating right now.
Well, and to some people, that's just like, whatever.
Yeah, that's just
nuts, man.
That's just the way we roll, man. I'm telling you, there's if you do have a gambling addiction, make sure you dial 1-800-GAMBLER. We do not condone gambling on this show. But Jon Favreau is sure taking a gamble with this show. And we've had mixed feelings over on the Twitter space, over on the Facebook space about the first episode. And the first episode is really a downer. I don't think I've read one single positive review about it. And I think we were trying to anticipate, how would episode 2 play out? Well, let's get into it. So a quick recap gives us a little bit of let's see, we had a little episode recap, which there was extra stuff in this recap that did not play in episode 1. I think there was a line from Mandalorian, right? Fate rescues the wretched. I think that was said back in Mandalorian time, during the show, season 2, right? We have some opening shots of Jabba's palace, which looked real cool, right? Set in our scene. We have the Night Wind person, right? We now have the names of the assassins, which is nice. And this is going to be a brief recap. We're going to cover all of this in a little bit of detail later. The Night Wind person curses him, which is fun. And then they send him into the Rancor pit. We'll talk all about that. That was a fun scene. We go to the mayor, where the most millennial receptionist exists in the Star Wars universe, which we'll detail that out a little bit later. Another beautiful shot of Mos Espa, even bigger than we saw in the first episode. And again, I screen capped it and put it out on ASWPOV, so please go check that out. We've got lots of character, world building, lots of different alien species. The mayor, who seems pretty controlling. I kind of like the mayor scene. We'll get into more detail later. There's some good lines from the mayor scene. It then transfers to Garsus Fwip, right? And there's a problem, right? And the twins are introduced. And I don't know about you, but I was super pumped to see Hutts kind of make their appearance. The only Hutts we know in live action is Jabba. Mm-hmm. And whoever, I don't know the name, but there was a second Hutt in episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when the pod racing. There was a second Hutt, if you remember. Jabba sort of falls asleep and then hits the gong for the race to start. But there was a second Hutt. I don't know their name. Somebody comment that below. Pizza the Hutt, correct. It's funny you make a Spaceballs reference, because I think there's a Spaceballs reference in this episode, which we will cover a little bit later. I think I'm going on a limb there.
I'm a Mel Brooks super fan, and I maybe because I was angry most of the
you might have been blinded by your own rage, like Anakin Skywalker towards sand. So I'll mention the scene a little bit later, and you might come to the light there. I won't mention the name because I know Damien's going to take that segment, but we have a new gladiator in the ring, so that's super exciting.
Gladiator.
I noticed. Gladiator. We have a true litter. Finally, we've been talking about litters for almost what feels like 3 episodes, even though 2 episodes have aired. But a true litter has been shown on screen, which is great. A lot of cool lines happen, and then boom, at the 14-minute mark, we are going back to the past. Thank you. And for the rest of the episode, we are hanging out with the Tuscan Raiders, and more or less, we are kind of living life. There's a cool train that appears to not be so cool to the Raiders. They're concerned about it. Boba says, listen, I can handle this train. Like, just let me do my thing. In the meantime, he's sort of training with what I like to call the Knights of Ren Tuscan Raider, because we don't really know their name. So that's the Ren Raider, who has like the long dreads. So that's pretty cool. Boba ends up going to a bar, kicks the shit out of the Swoop gang bike, takes care of them, no problems, no questions asked. Brings back the speeders. Enter Favreau traditional montage. We get to a train scene. Train scene's really cool. We'll go into more detail there. They win. There's the Pikes. They talk about terms, like you're on Tuscan land, you got to pay a toll, whatever. And then the end cap of the episode is like Tuscan culture and ceremony and tradition. And it ends up being the Boba Fett that we learn in Mando Season 2. So we sort of come full circle in Episode 2 and end up, boom, where we met Mando. So lots of open-endedness in this episode, in my opinion, and lots to talk and break down as we go on today. So let's start off with initial feelings. Are 1 to 2 word feeling on this episode. Mike, you've been nonstop. You've been waiting for this moment. I did not get the boxing ring bell prepped. I'm just remembering about that right now. I may pull it up right now as you're talking. So give us your thoughts right off the bat.
So you said like 1 to 2 words. Do you want just 1 to 2 words?
No, I just give me like a good feeling without getting into your bottom 3.
Okay. So my initial thought of this you said earlier that if it's 2 episodes, but it feels like 3. To me, it feels like 4 right now.
Ooh.
Fight.
Like, last week we said how you threw me completely off.
I'm sorry. That was so loud too.
That was very loud. That was aggressive. So last week you gave the numbers on Tuscan time. You gave the numbers on.
You gave the numbers on titties. Double T's. So this week I have the exact amount of time. So in the present time, Boba was from 1 minute and 27 seconds to 14 minutes and 15 seconds. Yes, that's accurate. That's accurate to what I had too. Yes.
13 minutes and 52 seconds. So 14 minutes and 15 seconds to 48 minutes and 9 seconds was Tuscan time, TT.
Sucking on the teat.
33 minutes and 6 seconds. Tuscan time took up 70.5% of the episode. Now, I am going to preface this by saying I do have a ton of gripes and grievances with this episode.
Okay.
But I still really enjoyed this episode. But with the way episode 1 ended, or chapter 1 ended, with him being accepted by this Tuscan tribe, if they just did this episode all of the Tuscan story and just ended it with that, he goes to his Etsy armorer to make his own painting with a twist gaffy stick. If it's just all Tuscan this episode, I have no issue with this episode.
I got you.
The fact that with present time, or I'm just saying present time Boba, that they left us with such a great cliffhanger and then just went boom, Tuscan. I was like,
it was jarring.
It felt like going to a strip club. Like, I'm excited and I can't do anything about it right now.
I've never been to a strip club, so I don't know what you're talking about. That's funny. Okay, thank you. That's good. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you there because I know you've got more to say.
No, that's my main grievance.
Okay,
my
gotcha.
Other grievances are just minor annoyances that
That's
don't.
fair. That's fair. So you were entertained by the episode, but not enjoying how the structures of the episode have been betrayed in the past 2 episodes.
Correct.
It could have been structured a little differently. I'm with you on that. All right, Dames.
Yeah.
Save us, please.
So, I mean, if we're talking just one word, better.
Yeah.
I mean, there was really only, one way to go after that, and that was up. So after chapter 1, there was a TMTT, too much Tuscan time, as we like to say here on the pod. And
right. That is a common that's a common saying here.
We say it all the time. It's definitely not the first. I appreciate the backstory to understand how he got there.
Yeah.
Even if they did a whole episode of that,
yeah.
I feel like that would still be too much for me. It was just I don't know. I kind of like the Tuscan Raiders just being mysterious and these jerks that just bombard people. But then we learn there's different groups of them and different culture, things like that. So, I mean, it was cool, but I didn't need it. I want to see Boba now in the present doing what he's doing. I don't need to see the backstory. Like, if they gave us that snippet from the first, episode, I'd be happy with that. I don't need to see him make a gaffy stick like they do, DIY workshops at Home Depot. I don't need any of that stuff. I just want to see him, working his way through this whole political thing that's going on in Mos Espa.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel what you're saying. For me, it's a growth episode for sure when you compare it to episode 1. I have to admit, I kind of loved the Raiders. I loved it. I did. I really liked it. I liked the cultural aspect of it because what we know, Mando did a really good job at going, oh, these Tuscan Raiders aren't so bad. They're just people. They're just trying to survive like everybody else. Mm-hmm. This is really taking it down into the deep levels of tradition, of ceremony, of how they're living their lives. And I anytime, one of the things I really loved about the books is anytime they got into First Order history, no one knows how the First Order was created if you just watch the movies. But in the book realm, in the TV shows realm, there is a historical context to it, and that really interests me because there's political machinations to it. There's schemes. There's spying and resistance and whatever, and I enjoy that. So when it comes to the Tuscan Raiders, yes, they are a mystery. Should they stay a mystery? I guess, but they're fleshing them out really well for me, and I'm going to go through some of the more detailed aspects of the Tuscan Raider time. A little bit later when we get into the notisements. But I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the beginning of it. And I was like, here we go. We talked about this. People are coming for him. And this is exactly what we thought it was going to be. And I thought he was tougher in this episode for sure. Yeah. I thought he was back. And, then we kind of, it definitely was jarring. And I'm like, all right, well, I wonder when they're going to get back. And I kept saying, I wonder when they're going to get back to the present. And I was like, I guess they're not getting back to the present. So here's what we're doing. So I definitely was top heavy, like you said, Mike, to the Tuscan Raider time.
And I agree with you. I really enjoyed the dive into Tuscan culture because, like you said, they are a mystery. And some of their traditions and everything that they showed, I really did enjoy the Tuscan culture. I just thought there was a little too much of the Tuscan culture. Fair.
Indeed. So that's our quick feelings on it. I think we're all in the same arena. Although I remember on the Instagram chat, you said I half read things. And I read this was the worst episode ever, and I'm like, disagree. And you were like, no. Oh, it was Damien. You were like, no. It was much less, or something like that. There was an article I missed, or some kind of adverb.
We're in all there that I missed. Tuscan tent on this episode, I think.
For sure. I love their tents. They're awesome.
Spacious.
They're great. Very, very spacious. It reminds me of the tent in Harry Potter. We don't know how big those tents are. They may go for miles, for all we know. So then that brings us to, let's just get right into our top three. Top three moments of the episode. A longer episode.
Yes.
Which was a pleasure. Dames, let's start with you.
Yes.
Where do you fall on a top moment?
So a top moment, I'll go with my third first. Just the use of practical effects in this episode.
Oh, okay.
A certain character looked friggin' awesome. I mean, that species has always looked awesome, but Mak Shaiz looked really cool.
The mayor.
I just liked the way that his mouth would open into the translator, the eyes would blink, the hands would move. I just really like that. And then when we're in the sanctuary, we see all kinds of practical effects too.
Yeah.
So I'll get into that a little bit more with my noticements, but for me, the practical effects in this episode were really cool.
Yeah, totally agree with it. There's when you unlike the first episode where you notice CGI, when you don't notice practical effects on first watch, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not noticeable, and that's where it gets really nice. And on the second watch, I was able to kind of look past Boba and go into the background a little bit because I knew new dialogue already, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of character design, a lot of costuming going on in the back, which is really cool. Mike,
I'm going to save my third for last because it leads into a list of grievances
Nice.
for me. So I'll go with my second one, which you like to call. I'm assuming it is a woman Tuscan Raider because of the locks, the long locks.
that's what I'm assuming at this point. Yeah,
That Tuscan Raider is a badass.
Yeah.
And the scene on the train,
yeah,
where I'm just going to say she, and if I need to correct, I will correct later.
Yeah.
When she is inside the train, it gave me such Bond vibes. As you would just see, like, snapshot of a window taking somebody out, snapshot of a window taking somebody out. The one person that's hanging out of the little hatch drops, and then she just pops up like, "What's up? Like, let's do this."
I love that scene so much that I wrote it down. The train scene for sure is a top moment for me. Whole
the train
thing.
scene had a lot of vibes of Solo too.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was loving that. I was calling it sand piercer, like Snowpiercer. and some Back to the Future 3 vibes too. I was waiting for there to be like a cliff and it would just die in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a game on 64 called Shadows of the Empire. I don't know if you've ever played that, but there's a train. There's a train, train platform episode. I don't know what they would call them, chapter in that game. And I got all those vibes from that. It wasn't exactly sand. I know it was industrial, but I got that for sure. I wrote jumps off of exploding bike. Heck yeah, man. I loved it. I don't call her a she. I just call her the Ren Tuscan Raider because it looks like a Knight of Ren. Leaps to the train, and then it was very like violent, but it was also comedic because you see the people and then they disappear and the gaffy stick is coming up and it's like wing, and it's like awesome. What a great scene for sure. Great sequence with the Ren Raider. I love that. So yeah, for me, train scene was top notch action of this episode for sure. I loved the conductor droid and all the little knobs and whistles and complexities. Like, is the trains in Star Wars the same trains here? Because that's a lot to process. And when Boba got in there, he was lost. No idea.
Yeah, that dude jumped ship. He's like, nope, see ya, I'm out.
Yeah, he was out. He
pushed every single button he possibly could have pushed.
And then like spidered away. It creeped me out when the droid just spidered away. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, he was outie. So, I know Damien's going to cover one of my tops, so I'm gonna skip that one. But I will get into the Tuscan culture because I definitely enjoyed that lore, and I think that, again, that just comes back to like because I dive deep into the books, you know, and I dive deep into the comics, and I like learning the stupid things that the casual viewer won't ever learn. So some of the things I wrote down. One question. Hold on. Back to the train scene. The Pikes are a syndicate, right? So that's the owners of the train. They're a syndicate. They're a pretty nasty syndicate, too. You don't really want to mess with them. So that's coming back down the line. So get ready, you know, for sure. But why is Boba against Spice? Like, is there a connection to his past with drugs and stuff that I'm not quite catching? I was trying to pick up a reference maybe from Clone Wars or something like that maybe he was affected by something or maybe something. I don't know. But like, why is it the Spice is that? Well, that's a very specific question. Like, are you traveling with Spice? You know, and like, here we go.
This is not looking good for you.
You know, like, what do you mean? Why is he so against Spice? I don't know. So that was my kind of question out there, and I don't need an answer, but it's something to ponder.
Maybe Django had a problem.
I thought he was angry about him lying, not necessarily about the Spice.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe, yeah, but maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just wrote that down.
That's how I took it. I was assuming that he would want it to sell it because he is trying to, I guess, get back on his Boba feet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Boba
when
feet.
we said
God.
when he said that to the Pikes, I took it as you're lying to me, and that's why this isn't looking good for you.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's that could very well be it. So after that scene, they're all sitting around the campfire. And I'm still trying to figure out how they start fire, but we're not going to get into that because we're just going to allow that to happen.
They have blasters.
Sure they do. No. So I liked how the chieftain goes into like the history, right? We have many tribes, you know. There was an ocean here. It dried up. We went into hiding. We hide because the other people have machines. You know, it's very, very sort of like Native American culture-ish, you know. A lot of symbolism, a lot of they live their lives the way they live their lives and they don't know anything else, you know. And we get into now when Star Wars gets weird, I think that's where Star Wars is at its best. So the lizard from Frozen 2 makes a cameo in this episode, right? Mike doesn't like it. I know you're not going to like it, and it's fine. I know it's probably one of your grievances. No big deal. But I think this is a Force-sensitive lizard. Okay, here's why. Because there is a big connection with Filoni and Favreau. Well, Filoni and then now through Favreau about how animals have a certain Force sensitivity in every planet across the galaxy. So if you watch Rebels, there's a lot of animals that speak to Ezra. If like Loth cats and the Dune, whatever the big wolf is, and space whales at the end of Rebels, you know. So there's that. I mean, Grogu, for Christ's sake, he's an animal, 50-year-old party animal. But I looked at this lizard and I went, that's super weird and I don't like it. But then I sort of thought about it and I was like, well, it's not too much different than drinking a purple flower in Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of going through this spiritual experience. Like, I don't think he ever left the tent, but maybe he did, you know, and he's on his way to this tree that they got out of Lion King. And he sort of is battling his past, which I loved every minute of those flashbacks of him sort of in the Sarlacc pit, remembering the traumatic experiences in life, and then coming out a little bit stronger from the willowing wisp from Hogwarts. And
I was calling it Joshua Tree.
Okay, perfect. And did you notice, like, at the end where he breaks the branch, it's water, the Dune Sea, right? Boom, the Dune Sea. And then, you know, he makes his way back. The lizard, I thought that was all a dream. First off, his lines were so bad.
Cheeky little bugger.
Let's not acknowledge the dialogue, but it was good. I did like this. And now that we're on YouTube, we can do emotions And that was a perfect thing. Like our CGI, we blew our CGI on the monster, so we're gonna cover up the nose so we don't see the lizard coming up. But I really liked that. The child Tuscan is Boba's own hype train right now. Super likable. They've not spoken one word yet. Just like in Mandalorian, just like Mando, we're getting so much emotion from the Tuscan Raiders. We know the leadership. We can understand the sort of hierarchy of the culture that they have there. He returns and they're all impressed. They're like, damn, an outsider was able to survive this lizard experience, which I'm going to guess everybody goes through as part of the tradition of, I guess, being accepted, because not everybody just happens upon a cloned bounty hunter, And then they go into this very sacred ceremony of him being dressed, and I felt that to be very Egyptian, which was really cool for me. Just kind of like him getting dressed and doing his thing. He comes out, he looks great. That hot toy is going to be awesome. Damien already has probably bought it. It's going to happen for sure. And then he makes his gaffy stick. So to your point, Mike, yes, very long in terms of this part. It could have stood on its own in its own episode for sure. This could have been moved to episode 3, and the train, and it could have ended there. And then the next episode, we could have covered all this. And I get that. But I think they were like, well, if we do this, we kind of have to tell this. If we do that, we kind of have to do this. Let's just get it over with. So now he makes his gaffy stick. Here's why I liked it. Not one time, I've mentioned this before, have we ever seen the construction of any goddamn weapon in a Star Wars anything. We've never seen the construction of a lightsaber. We've never seen the construction of a gun, a modification of a gun. So for the first time, I don't know if it's the first time, but for a first impression, we get to see the creation of a sacred weapon. I thought that this Ren Raider was going to die and he was going to inherit that gaffy stick. I didn't think that he was going to create his own, because who thought there was going to be a force tree in the middle of the desert?
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't know that. So I like how weird the lore is. And I like that it's one of those things that's, I remembered it, and it's wow, surely there's kyber crystals on an ice planet in Ilum, and that's where you find your kyber crystals. We just accept that as part of the Jedi culture. But the Tuscans, man, they're like, yeah, you're gonna go on this lizard force trip, and you're gonna find a random tree in the middle of the desert. You're gonna get a branch, and you're gonna bring it back. And so,
quick question
sounds
about
weird.
that.
Yeah,
this just popped in my head.
Yeah.
So they use the lizard. Do you think Favreau Rodriguez wanted to use some sort of essentially Star Wars version of ayahuasca tea, where it's we drink this, and then we go on this weird spiritual journey, and Kennedy was like, no, we can't do that. We can't.
Right, that's a drug thing.
It's a drug thing. We can't do that. So you need to figure out something else.
So
they were lizard nose?
I'm not saying that the lizard nose was a good what would you call it? Because the back the tank is a way for them to move to the past. I don't know if that was a good way of doing it, because it's weird for the salamander to go in your nose. But
Pascal from Rapunzel from Tangled.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She'll never find him there. I love the ceremonial dance at the end. I loved it.
Nope.
I loved it. It was awesome.
No,
it was the an ending. It felt very tribal, and I get he's already been accepted because he stopped the swoop gang or whatever and killed this monster. I think killing the monster was all right, we're not going to make you dig for water anymore. You got that, but you're not exactly in our culture just yet. You're still an outsider. He's no longer an outsider. He's on the inside track. Not only is he on the inside track, I do believe they sit in regard to the hierarchy toward the fire. And he's on that inner circle right now, along with the chieftain, along with the Ren Raider. and then everybody's around him. So he's already risen to sort of fame in that tribe, which is pretty rad. And I'm looking forward to what happens when he leaves. I do think in predictions down the line that the Raiders will come into play.
Yes.
For sure. They will have to come into play at some point.
Especially
because he's going to need an army. He's going to need he can't have two piggies. Piggies aren't going to cut it. Anyway, I know that was very long-winded, but there was a lot. Just like 72% of that episode was just what I said right there. So, I mean, I think it was important to kind of to express the cultural awesomeness of the Tuscan Raiders, in which we got this in episode 4.
The Tuscan culture.
That was a great sound. That was awesome.
Tuscan culture was one of my highlights as well. There was a lot more good than bad. There was a lot more that made me happy with the Tuscan culture than I had to grieve about. The nose lizard was the one thing that really made me like cringe. I was like, why? And back to the point I just made about like, was Disney and Kennedy like, hey, we can't do any symbolism of drugs, and if they drink something, you know, that gives symbolism of drugs. And they were like, hey guys, nose candy, right? Let's have it go right up the nose.
Yeah, I submit that is probably correct.
And you were talking about him getting dressed with all the like robes and everything, and I thought that was the one scene in the first episode makes a lot of sense now, and I don't know if they used the same music, but the droids dressing him with his armor, it looked almost shot for shot, angle for angle.
Very good.
Him getting dressed in the Tuscan robes. Also, why are they wearing so much clothes in the desert?
Well, according to the legend of Zelda,
look heavy.
According to the Legend of Zelda, it gets very cold at nighttime.
At night,
desert,
yes,
right?
but like they're wearing them during the day.
Hey, man, they're fit though, right? You don't see one overweight Tuscan Raider.
But if they like wear less clothing, they might not need to look for the black melon so often.
I don't know.
That is true.
I don't know.
And black absorbs heat. Come on,
Listen,
be like the tribe from Mando, where they're
you're just a science teacher. All right, don't bring your science stuff to us. No, I'm with you. Thank you for that. So, I think it really, unless you have anything outside of the train scene in the Tuscan culture, I think we're going to mention. We'll get back to you, Mike. You just talked. Dames.
Yes.
Where do you stand in your tops? Because I know you made a YouTube video.
I did? Must have blacked out.
Did.
Oh.
You did. Oh.
How's it doing?
I think it's doing okay. So far, so good. We'll know in 2 days when the algorithm actually hits it.
Yeah. I mean, train scene was number 2 for me.
Cool.
And number 1, should I just get into it?
Absolutely, yes.
So, we got BK, not Burger King. We got Black K, Santee. We got Black Kersantin. And I was just like hyped up as all heck to see this because number 1, the practical effects for him. I mean, obviously we've seen Chewie. It's just a dude in a suit. But the eyes were just like
unbelievable.
Really menacing. Like, I don't even know if he blinked. Like, he was just like the whole time just staring straight at him. And it's just kind of neat because that brings the comics into live action. And with Kenobi, there's a big fight scene between those two. Yep. And, Lars is in it as well. He's just kind of there as a bystander. But to see that is really, really cool. And I do think, and I'll get into this in my predictions, but I think what will happen with this character will be pretty cool. And I definitely think we're going to get him in Kenobi. I mean, you can't bring him into this and then not have him in Kenobi, especially with Kenobi following after this, even though it's going to be a little bit of a, backtrack and a flashback, but it's still going to be pretty cool to see him. That was super, super cool to see the Fets just like roll in here. And I felt bad for the poor guys carrying them.
Oh, man.
Like that thing was that was like that. It was like a piece of plywood that sat out through like 9 rainstorms with cinder blocks on it. I was just like, holy crap.
12 people. I made a note that was like, no way 12 people are carrying 2 Fetts.
I wrote down the litter is struggling.
But yeah, Chrysanthemum's awesome. Like, and he's just a total badass. And it's really neat because there's still stuff about his past that we don't really know yet.
Right.
Like, why did he leave Kashyyyk? Like, what happened there? Obviously, he's a gladiator, and he's back in the Fets now, which is interesting because he had a fallout almost had a fallout with Jabba, but he fled from Tatooine. So I want to see if almost that comes back into play, and maybe they kind of make him like a tweener character, or like, not necessarily completely evil or bad, but somebody that can also be on the good side that you want to root for. So that, he was my number one. That was just super cool. They gave him a nice long slow motion shot coming in there. He looked pissed off, and it was awesome. And Boba obviously recognized who he was immediately.
Well, here you go.
I don't care what your tablet says. This is Mos Espa, and I am Daimyo here.
Oh.
You can bring as many gladiators as you wish, but these are not the deathbeds of Dur, and I am not a sleeping Trandoshan god. This territory is mine.
Love it. His entrance was awesome. I knew who he was. I didn't place the name right away, and I went, that is from the comics. I can't believe the detail in the costume. I totally agree with you on Kenobi, because why spend so much money on a costume if not to use it twice, right?
100%.
And he looks great. And I know, Mike, you're probably not familiar with his historical nature. I'm sure you looked up a little bit about him.
Oh, yeah. I looked
and
up
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the comics, dude, like, he's like, what a badass. What a badass character. And it's great to have a Wookiee character that also is a bounty hunter, that also is the opposite of Chewbacca.
Yep.
Because there's not a lot of Wookiees out there, and in that Kashyyyk culture is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
When you consider, what they consider sacred, and I mean life debts and stuff like that. So that's like a really cool thing. And what maybe he broke a life debt, Damien. Maybe that's why he was exiled. We don't know. So that's a cool thing. Yeah, he was.
Shoulder pads were on fleek.
Super.
Even the eyebrows, like the raising of the eyebrows on that too. There's got to be some sort of patent on that thing. Like Lucas is like, just give me all the patents. Even Mok Shai's like, I feel like I was like, that might not be CGI. That might be robotic.
Oh, definitely robotic. I agree for sure. Ithorian. Yeah, you look great. Definitely for sure. Yeah, so that was on my top list as well. BK action. So we don't need to really cover that anymore. So we'll flip it back to Mike. I know you have probably. Do you have any more, Damien? I think that covers all three of yours, right?
That was it for me. I mean, train scene, practical effects, and then BK.
Yeah, our boy. Good stuff. All right, Mike. So you'll finish us off here.
My highlight was the bar fight.
Ah, nice.
Because that was my top highlight. That is because
that happened in the Tuscan time, loser.
But the reason why it's my top highlight, backtrack. It's not that I dislike the Tuscan time. It's that chapter 1 was what? A runtime going from like start of action to end of action, maybe 28 minutes.
Yeah.
There was 33 minutes of Tuscan time. Make it its own episode. Finish Tuscan time.
Okay, all right, I'm with you.
That's what I was trying to say at the beginning. But I digress.
Tuscans are going to try and cancel you now, man. You better watch out.
Hey, I'm a fan of the Tuscans. I love them.
They don't say anything. They just do this. Wait, what's kill?
Train.
What's kill?
Take you.
What's kill?
Far.
Do you remember kill from Mando?
Bantha. Forward. Stop.
What is kill? Do you remember the crate dragon? They used the symbol for kill over and
Wasn't
over.
it just like karate chop sideways? No more.
Oh boy. You have to, if you're on
Train.
audio right now, you must immediately switch over to the YouTube stream.
Tuscan Raiders, they're big Atlanta Braves fans, apparently.
I don't even know where I was going. Oh,
you were swoop gang.
Swoop gangs. So that bar scene was the Boba we were expecting.
Oh yeah.
Where he came in and there was at least between 5 to 10 of this swoop gang, and he just took them out one by one. And this was the Boba we were expecting in episode 1, and he was just getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And like he breaks the gun and just looks at the barrel and he's like, well, throws it over my shoulder, and then I'm going to beat the crap out of everybody else with this training gaffy stick.
That's right.
That's not even, it's just like round at the end. There's no point to it, and there's no stabbing mechanism on the other side. I'm going to beat you with wood. And it was amazing.
Yeah, he crushed them. Now, before that, may I mention, and this is where my Spaceball reference comes in, by the way, the little couple, the lost couple that were, by the way, I love the bully taking the chips and taking his drink. I thought that was great. This is going to be a very long stretch, so I hope you warmed up. The couple, the guy reminded me of Lone Star in the jacket and the hair, and the girl reminded me of Princess Vespa.
Okay.
And if you watch it again with the Spaceballs in your brain, you may agree with me on the visuals later. And I'm trying to think, like, the brown jacket, the long hair, brown-haired girl, very similar in that. I have no reason to believe that it has anything to do with anything. But it was the first thing I thought about. I was like, that's Lone Star.
They do look very Lone Star and Vespa-esque.
Right off the bat.
I read something that it was essentially a cameo of 2 characters who were cut from A New Hope.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I love that more.
Damien, maybe you can elaborate more, because I read it in passing. I didn't really dive deep into it.
So there was a deleted scene in A New Hope, and I looked this up too. I don't know everything about Star Wars. I wish
Liar.
I did, but
Liar.
Thanks to the Google machine, I pretend like I do sometimes. But there's a deleted scene in A New Hope where Luke Skywalker is hanging out at Tashi Station, which is where these 2 people were. So that was
kind of the power converters.
That was so good. Just whiny. Oh my god, so good. Oh,
you can play with your friends later. I don't know what he says. I forget.
Oh my god! But the names of these 2 characters are Cammy and Fixer. And they're supposed to be Luke. Well, Fixer's like the nickname for the guy.
Oh, all right.
And they're supposed to be Luke Skywalker's friends, and there was supposed to be a scene from A New Hope where they're just kind of hanging out. But it was cut, so this is like a really deep cut, little like Easter egg thing that they could throw in there, and of course, like people know who they were immediately because they just like pay attention to every single thing, which is awesome. Because like for me, I would have had no idea who they were. I'm like, well, why are these people so focused on in this shot? But
yeah, right, and that's kind of why I was like Spaceballs. Like it's got to be some reference that I'm missing, because who cares?
So yeah, there were Luke Skywalker's friends, and that scene was cut from A New Hope. I don't know if there's any kind of deleted scene out there or any kind of footage.
There must be, because when Rogue One dropped in scenes from A New Hope that were cut, this like the fighter pilot scenes, there has to be. Now I don't know if they could splice that into what they were doing here. Oh man, Rogue One, 5 years since Rogue One, by the way.
Jeez.
5 years.
Wow.
5 years since Rogue One. Got to go back and revisit that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the bar fight, I sent a little picture of the back of the swoop like ganger's jacket. And I must have rewound like 600 times because I couldn't quite get it. And at first glance, I thought it was Grogu, and I was like, "No way! Why would they do this? Why would they do this?" Now it's very hard to see, but I was able to translate the Arabesh on the back. Listen, on our show, you're going to get a lot of in-depth detail that you don't need. So I thought to myself, why not translate the Arabesh for you? Because I thought it maybe will lead to a secret. And I'm very disappointed to report that all it is and all it says is Tatooine.
That's like the secret, the Annie secret decoder ring. Drink more Ovaltine.
Like, I really wanted it to say like Kira's Club, or something like that, or like Crimson Dawn. I'd be like, oh damn, here we go. Nah. Someone just went to the airport. Spaceport, and got a Tatooine jacket.
Sean decoded it. He's like, Tatooine? A crummy planet? Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm like so mad because like I brought up I literally brought up a picture of Arabesh and I was like circling. I felt like I was in Stargate, like translating the codes, and I'm like, oh, it just spells. It was like T-A-T. I'm like, damn it spells Tatooine. Like I don't even have to do it anymore.
How much time did you
don't
spend
even air the rest of the episode.
I spent 8 minutes, Michael.
Lazy writing. Don't air the rest of the episodes. That's it.
You know what? You're right. It was too long, the goddamn Tuscan time. No, I enjoyed it. I agree with you. I really enjoyed the bar. I love the scene where the door opens and all you see is his head.
Yes.
And I went, wow, they did that already in Mando.
Yep.
I'll get to that.
Do you guys also note, like, I guess this is a noticement.
We notice things all the time.
I think we can, do we now want to maybe shift into noticements and then also air our grievances at the same time?
Sure.
Okay, so what did you notice about that there?
That bar scene was very Terminator 2.
Ooh.
Like he rolled in there, he's like, I need your gloves, your boots, and your speeder bikes, and then just like proceeds to take out the whole gang and then just like, takes off. And that was, I get major Terminator 2 vibes from that, and it was just really, I mean, minus him being clothed, but which is probably good for everybody. But yeah, it was really, really cool. I like that a lot. I like the parallel to that. And he just came in, and that's the Boba that we want to see more of in the present. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that.
Well, I appreciate you making that reference because I don't think I've ever seen any of the Terminators.
Oof. Two's the best one, I think.
Okay.
Just watch 1 and 2 and then you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
They just kept going after that, and then they just keep trying again, and it doesn't work.
It does not work at all.
Nice. How bad did the Trandoshans look?
Eesh.
They look like fish to me.
Ugly.
Yes. I think their eyes are too big, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of my number ones. I thought I allowed the Tributor a pass on the first episode, and I thought to myself, maybe that's just the way that one looks.
Nope.
And then they're in the city, and they don't look menacing at all. They look a little characterish and like cartoon characterish, but like in the comics and like Bosk looks mean, and they don't look mean to me, and I'm upset about it. So they need to fix that. Go back and post and fix it now. Thank you, John. Michael?
Did you notice that they went to the Mando well about 4 times?
I may have noticed that. Please elaborate.
So, number 1, the entrance to the bar, which we talked about, very Mando-esque, where it just opens and you see silhouette. That was such a great entrance.
Woo! It's great. What an opening scene. Oh my god.
Number 2, a very mundane activity training montage.
So I wrote down a Yapham, yet another Favreau montage.
Yapham.
It reminded me so much of Queel training Mando to ride the blurg when Boba is trying to train the Tuscans how to ride a speeder.
You want me to ride that thing? It just tried to eat.
Go!
Like a bantha.
Stop!
Like a bantha.
Train!
Train.
Load!
I need to learn the sign language because it's so good. It is so awesome.
Oh my god, the words he says doesn't even match up to what he's showing.
No.
But they get it.
Sand! No, every sand!
Kill was definitely my favorite, and I think it's more Cobra Kai than Atlanta Braves, because the Braves shouldn't even be doing that to begin with, but that's another
Cobra
video
Kai's
for another
good.
time.
So number
Cobra Kai's
3.
good. Number 3.
We have the fake-ass armor,
Yeah.
where we have...
I didn't make that connection.
Instead of getting a sigil, well, she also makes weapons for the Mandalorians. This Tuscan armor is, you still see the fire, and it's not that really like strong blue fire. It's just like a fire pit. It's a solo stove, and they're just putting the wood into it. So we had another armor scene, essentially.
Okay, all right. I mean, he did make the weapon himself. He was shown the tools, and he had to essentially make it. But I can see your point there. Again, where they get
the armor?
Where the hell they get the fire from?
They have the rifle blasters. They just shoot it into some. Hey, I don't know.
Did you notice? Sorry, let me sidetrack you. I loved how they went from with the speeder bike. They went from like, what are these things? And they're hitting it right. And I thought that was fun. To after the montage, one is maintaining them by
yes, they're using a wrench. Like,
they're quick learners, man.
In 3 days, they went from I'm going to smash this thing with a rock to I'm going to do repairs on this thing. It's classic montage.
Montage. It's great.
What's it? Team America World Police, the song, you gotta do a montage.
Montage!
Great movie, but it's way too explicit for this show. Move on.
Yes. So number 4. Someone in Mandalorian armor teaming up with Tuscan to take down something extremely large.
Yeah. Definitely. Echoes. But it's Star Wars. It's poetry. It rhymes. That's what George said.
George of the jungle.
That's right. All right, number 5. Yo, tell that dog to calm down.
I know, he's freaking out here.
No, he's good. You are muted, friend. You hit your mute mic. It's once per episode. We're going to allow it this time.
I'll allow it. That was... Let's go! So in an episode that is 46 minutes, for Mando going to the wells in a 46-minute episode, that's once every 10. That's a lot.
It's a lot of Mando references, but
that's a lot of lazy writing.
They've also decided to tell a story about a true Mandalorian, though.
Yeah.
If they waited on Book of Boba Fett, and maybe the next one was Kenobi, then Ahsoka, then the Book of Boba Fett, we may have noticed less. But we're back to back on very much the same story beats. But you got to think about it. He is also going. I wonder if the Tuscans that Mando dealt with. Well, that's a different planet, though, right?
No, that was Tatooine.
Was it Tatooine? I thought
most. Why can't I think of it? Yeah, because Cobb. It was with Cobb Vanth.
That's right. Okay. Oh, I'm thinking of the Jawas. I'm thinking of the off-world Jawas.
It brings
my bad.
My
bad.
I do think it's
so. Then this is good. Is it the same tribe, or is it a different tribe?
Different robes. It was in Mando. It was like sand-colored robes.
Okay. Because the binocs, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's the binocs that they stole from that doofus in episode. And then I went, oh, that timing doesn't really work there. Never mind. I'm gonna scratch that.
And I do like the one thing that the chief, I guess, said, how like certain tribes did certain things.
Yeah.
Where it now gives like, oh, now Mando had a completely different tribe.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It was dealing with a completely different tribe.
And maybe the tribe in A New Hope that attacked Luke were the kill.
Yeah, with the
they weren't messing around.
They're more the brutes.
Exactly.
Kill.
Exactly. Going down my notices. I loved the scene where the Pikes go, "You want us to walk?" And they're like, "Yeah, but we'll die without thirst, and we'll give you a black melon." And then the Tuscans go to empty the water, and it's just wasting, and they're catching it in like little containers, and it's the stupidest, silly scene ever, but I laughed at it, and it was great.
Boba made it rain.
I love that. Dames, any other notices for you, friend?
Yeah, the Pike Syndicate, obviously, but that was kind of cool, and obviously solo vibes from that.
Yeah.
And then for me, just looking at, even though we were only in the sanctuary for felt like less than a minute in this episode, I saw a robot very similar to DJ Rex from Galaxy's Edge.
I noticed that.
Saw a Snaggletooth.
Yep.
And I was just
great hair. Great hair, I think.
Yeah, I know. That was it was a nice looking toupee, but I noticed a lot of those creatures, and just going back to like the practical effects and stuff like that makes Star Wars for me, because like overly CGI'd things, even like when they added the Sarlacc in for like the 1997 special edition or whatever it was, the practical stuff is just kind of what drew me into Star Wars as a kid, because I was like, holy crap, is that like a real person somewhere?
Yeah.
And you look and you watch it, but just noticing some different people and different characters around the sanctuary in this episode was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time on the Tuscans. We haven't spent a lot of time in the present. So let's go. I'm gonna take us there. And one of the things I noticed during the mayor scenes, there's a lot of great. So
I'll just get skipped. It's fine.
You
just skip me. That's fine.
Well, listen. we never know if you're muted. We never know. So I have to make sure that you first complain and then we go. Did you have anything else to add to the Tuscan Raider scenes, friend?
I did something I wanted to add to what you said, actually.
Hold on. Go ahead.
It's a good thing.
Oh.
You were talking about the pike. You were talking about the pikes.
Okay.
Did you notice that they were told to walk in single file line?
Oh, yes.
Emulate that they were Tuscans and they wouldn't be bothered.
Well, again, culturally speaking, I love that.
Yes.
You have the protection of the Tuscans. He says his words very slowly.
Yeah.
I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second.
You're going to run this island one day, Moana.
If you want to ring the bell and I'll get into it now, I will.
Go ahead.
But
Go. I do want to move to the present. So this is your final shot at the Tuscans. Go.
No, this isn't Tuscans. This is all across the board.
Across the board, go.
All right, you want to ring the bell?
Here we go.
Yes, I do.
I'm just going to mute.
Why? And I'm on mute. Why are they, number one, speaking in, why is Boba speaking in iambic pentameter? Like he's writing a sonnet.
What?
Every Sonic Shakespeare wrote was in iambic pentameter.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Number two, why is he speaking in riddles all the time? And why are we taking the SATs all the time? Not just with Boba, but with Major Domo. And I went back because most of the quotes came, because obviously the speaking in riddle quotes are not going to come from Tuscan time. They're going to come from present time.
Yeah.
So I wrote down some of the things that they said, and I'm just like, talk like people. We don't need to speak in riddles. So,
it's very high society, isn't it?
Major Domo. Pardon the lack of pomp. Go to hell. Your serendipitous visit. Shut your face.
I'm just trying to get a hoagie down by the bay.
Exactly. So then I got into a couple of the Boba quotes, and one I already said earlier. Gladiator. Who are you? Gladiator.
Well, maybe. Oh, damn it. I was going to say that. I was going to say maybe he's learning spells. We don't know.
Here are a couple quotes that I just wrote down from Boba that just annoyed me that could have been said another way. And not in a way of Fennec saying unmolested last week, in a way of why are you in a job interview right now trying to use all your fancy words and fancy metaphors? Those who thought otherwise no longer draw breath. Those who disagree with me got.
Hold on, I got a good one for you.
You know damn well who.
You know damn well who.
See, that's great. I'm fine with that. Debauchery of Hutta to bother, not to bother with ambitions on Tatooine.
What?
Exactly.
That's when he's talking to the Hutts, right?
Yes.
And they're just like
the death pits of Dur, and I'm not a sleeping Trandoshan god.
Poetry.
Exactly.
Beautiful. I mean,
I don't disagree that it's well written, but we're not. This isn't high school English.
Yeah.
Where I'm reading Romeo and Juliet, trying to decipher every single word that you're trying to say. I don't want to go to Google and be like, all right, I'm on Dur. Ring the bell.
Okay, I got you.
I have a perfectly good explanation for all of this. As part of Boba's, ruling, he wants to sell motivational posters, and he just needs quotes for them all. That's the only thing I could think of.
Right.
But he went from not having a single line in the original trilogy to speaking in riddles, go to the forest and find leaves of 3. There you'll find Boba, me. What the hell?
No, I mean, we don't. The problem is we don't have a just like last episode, we don't have a perception of Boba. We have a certain best bounty hunter in the galaxy perception. And we're building out his character, and it's not exactly hitting the expectations that we have in our brains. And the words don't help because the words are true. Mm-hmm. Can't take the words back, and that's the words we got to live by. But what's interesting about that, and I think Favreau's doing this on purpose, is he literally said this.
I am not a bounty hunter.
Is that so? I've heard otherwise.
That's the entire audience right there in that small statement. I am not a bounty hunter. Really, because that's what I heard. Mm-hmm. Because that's what we heard.
Yep. That
you're a bounty hunter. Yet he's changing the way he's doing things, which is totally fine. The other line that I really enjoyed is at the end of the Mare, where he gives him advice. Here's what he says.
Here is the tribute I offer. Some advice. Running a family is more complicated than bounty hunting.
Said it.
Okay. So that's sort of, I enjoy that as a lesson for him.
Yeah.
And I do think he's in over his head right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's quite prepared for what's going on.
Nope.
And I think he's what would they say, peacocking right now.
Yeah.
Showing his feathers. Maybe Master Assassin has the Britannica Encyclopedia, and they're researching different words and phrases that are trying to, give him a little bit of pomp to not use that again. But I can understand the Grievous there. Where, why are you talking like that?
We get it. You have a thesaurus.
It's a dinosaur that knows a lot of words.
Yes, it is. By the way, that is the last of my anger towards the episode.
No worries.
The other 2 Grievouses I have already been mentioned, so I'm actually done with Grievouses.
Oh,
I do have a couple of noticeements from PT, not TT.
Good. So then, Mike. So what is some? I'm going to just throw it back to you, Mike, and then we'll go to Damien. If you have any PT stuff, of course. So tell us one of your present time noticements.
I think this was a noticement, but did Bib change the ejector seat to the Sarlacc pit? Because or did Boba change it to mess with everybody? Because
I'd have to review Return of the Jedi to see.
I think I remember from Return of the Jedi just like a slam, like no whammies, stop on a button, and then Fennec did sort of like a Shrine of the Silver Monkey pull on something. Great. And then fell into the Sarlacc pit. So did Bib change the?
I don't know. That's a great question.
The trap door to the Sarlacc pit?
I mean, it was inside a Rancor's mouth.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was pretty cool. Speaking of the Rancor's mouth, I have that scene queued up.
Well, if he's not going to speak, he no longer needs his head. We spared your life after you tried to take mine. And you curse me? What do we know of this prisoner?
He is of the Order of the Night Wind.
Assassin for hire.
Very expensive.
Overpriced. You're paying for the name.
Their reputation is legendary. There is no way this one will talk.
I know of their reputation.
They're just people in hoods.
There is no way he will talk. They fear no man.
Fine. Perhaps he fears the Rancor.
I was sent by the mayor! The mayor sent me! Let me out!
It's empty. Assassin of the Night Wind.
My favorite part of that was the rat squeaking. My second favorite part of that is imagine that scene without music. Right? There's no music happening in Jabba's palace right now, so it's not as dramatic as the episode is making it seem, but I really enjoyed it because we know the Rancor's dead, but there's a legendary assassin, Nightwind. Never heard about them in my life. I don't think they have any reference to any. Have you seen them in any content, comic, book? I haven't. So whatever, we'll let that go.
I loved Fennec in that scene. I think that was some of Ming-Na Wen's best work as Fennec. The whole overpriced is just a hood. I loved her in that scene so much, and especially because like it seemed like she was calling the shots, which in my mind brings me into my prediction of like she's going to try to take the throne as like a heel turn later on. I'm sorry to jump to predictions. I mean, we still have that's not my prediction for next episode, but like for the long run,
interesting.
That like she was calling the shots there, not Boba.
Yeah. Curious. Dames, throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, some of the training stuff was good, but I didn't like all of it. Thought some of it was excessive. They tried for too much humor too in the episode. Like some of it was funny. Like Fennec's lines I thought were funny and they were just like dry humor, like perfectly delivered. But then like some of the other stuff was just like silly, like, you know, like a bantha and, you know, forward.
Great gifts have already been created of that.
And I know. And then like it is funny though, because like I'm gonna appreciate that now just because of how goofy it is. But my number one for dislikes was actually the fake out with the Rancor. I liked the humor in the scene, but I really wanted to see a Rancor, but I will talk about that in prediction.
So hold on one second. Are you mad about it because HasLab failed the Rancor?
No, I wasn't backing that thing at all.
Okay, just checking.
I backed 2 Ghostbusters Proton packs. I can't afford a Rancor on top of that.
Okay,
Nor,
all right. Fake.
Nor can my office. I don't know where that. We'd have to get rid of the dog and just keep the Rancor.
Just get her a Rancor costume. It's the same thing. Same thing. All right. Yeah. Anything else? I'm kind of out of noticements at this point. Looking at my notes, and I think I've covered all of the things that I want to cover. Mm-hmm. So we will now go into speed round. Anything else? Just jump in, and and now you can look at each other, and you can say, "Do you want to talk? Should I talk? Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
Who's on first? Who's on second? What? Who's on third?"
I really enjoyed that from Force Awakens. That opening scene with Poe Dameron and Kylo Ren.
That was great. You talk first. You talk first.
Poe was the best part.
He was the best. Absolutely best. Great character. Great character. It's a shame he was sidelined.
Mm-hmm. Give us a Poe Dameron Disney Plus series.
I would take that.
Saying it at exactly the
I would take
time.
a faux I would take a faux and pin. A faux and pin.
A like a Disney Plus series. A fake.
Like Disney a buddy cop sort of show.
Give me the other guys, but with Finn and Poe.
Yes. I think that would be lots of fun. Lots of fun. So, all right, finish it up. And Mike, anything else to add before we move on to our 1-sentence summaries and then predictions?
So last week when I called the Order of the Night Wind, I called him Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
I kept picking my own mind, and I was like, I know there is a red Mortal Kombat character that looks like Sub-Zero, like Reptile, like Scorpion, and it's Ermac.
Okay.
Ermac.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, so I just made that noise.
Anytime I...
Hey, Ermac, my favorite character.
All right.
Ermac, you son of a bitch, get over here. So that's all I have. Okay. My lowlights are out. My noticements are out. I'm good.
I loved. I lied. I wrote down BK looks at Boba, and I wrote down yikes.
Scary.
There's a lot of hate there, and I'm curious as to is it like I see you, Boba. I know we've had run-ins, buddy, and now I'm on this side. Or are we going to team up later? I don't know. I hope so.
He's looking pretty salty over there. He's ready to go.
For sure. Dames, any other things to add onto this conversation?
No, everything, noticements is out of the way. Negatives and positives out of the way. So I'm good.
Ooh, cool. I'm sorry. I have one more thing.
You son of...
Ring the bell.
It's not a bad thing. Shit.
That's how I'm going to reel you in every time you add stuff.
Oh my God.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. Cheer. So the montage scene of riding the speeder. Not a highlight, low light, noticement, just kind of like a why. We didn't need to see them miss the jump 5 times. In any classic montage, it's 3. It's like, I completely sucked. I'm getting a little better. I got it.
Fair. Okay, I can agree to that. There was lots of jumping for sure. That's funny. Okay, well then that sort of wraps our recap. It wraps our moments. It wraps our bottoms. It wraps our noticements. It wraps us up like Boba was wrapped up in Tuscan culture, and it's a wonderful thing. So thank you for that healthy discussion. It brings us to our 1-sentence summary of the episode. I think I'll start with... who did I start with last time? Doesn't matter. I'm going to start with Damien.
Okay.
I think Damien went last time, so we'll wrap it around.
So this is more of a joke 1-sentence summary. What is Boba's favorite Russell Crowe movie?
No.
Gladiator.
Thank you.
That was that. But okay. So my 1-sentence summary: Hasbro Pulse, much like Book of Boba Fett fans, have one thing in common: No Rancor.
Ooh, that's a shame.
I'm bitter.
Sorry.
I'm a little bitter.
Sorry, HasLab. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Maybe next time shoot for 5,000 backers instead of 8.
Or give us a figure with the initial Rancor.
Jerks.
Come on.
Jerks. Michael.
All right, so I went the Damien route this week, and this
Hey yo, it's your boy Teo.
It is shit.
Dude, the song was so good. For the record, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, and I'll explain this a little later, Mike is an aspiring rapper. Pardon me.
It has to be the outro music at this point, right?
I don't think, because we would have to get Nas to
I'm going to stay away from. I'm going to stay away from that. All 18 listeners are going to not enjoy that. So we'll come back to that later.
So this one sentence summary is in the key of the song "Love Game" by Lady Gaga.
Okay.
This lizard takes you on a trip to a weird tree for your coffee stick.
That was excellent. Thank you.
Oh my god.
Oh, damn, that's really good. You should have went last. My one sentence summary comes from a famous actor, Vin Diesel. You don't turn your back on family, both in Espa and the Raiders.
Ooh.
So now I have a Lady Gaga line as well. Here we go. Let's ride this bantha. This beat is sick. I want to take a ride on your gaffy stick.
Yes. It has to end in gaffy stick.
It's the only way it can. That's perfect.
If
Dude, that was so good. I'm dying.
If you stuck around for this YouTube stream or you stuck around for the audio, man, you just get some golden nuggets there.
The train is off the tracks right now, or off the sand and out of
water. I'm hitting a delirious stage right now, and I'm so not looking forward to editing this. But I'm gonna push through. We're gonna get this out for tomorrow. Trust me, it's gonna happen. Speaking of, we are recording on January 6th. This is the Book of Boba Fett number 2. Bob number 2. Bob number 3 is coming up this week. What are your predictions? I'll start. There's not a lot to talk about the present. We have a lot of conniving going on. We've got the mayor. Mayor seems sketchy. Mm-hmm. The twins, it's probably not the last we'll see of them. Will there be more hits on Boba? We'll see. Are we done with Tuscan culture? Do we continue that? Where's the timeline now in Tuscan past? Right, he's gotten past his demons, so to speak, with lizard time, which is the same as bullet time in the Matrix, but we're going to call it lizard time. And what happens now? I'm curious as to, does he continue living with the Tuscans, or now is his journey taking him on the path of, I am now going to look for my armor? Who knows? Whatever it is, we are close to the mid-season of this show. So we need episode 3 to be a very good show. It needs to move the story along for sure. Dames, what do you think?
So, I think the Rancor thing was a tease. I think as Boba's getting more and more ruthless as he realizes he has to be just in this environment, he's going to somehow maybe find a Rancor. I think there was a baby Rancor in one of the shows.
In Bad Batch, which happens in the past, there was a reference to the Rancor that could have been Jabba's.
Okay.
That eventually, dies. So I don't know where you breed Rancors.
Right.
But in that episode, that Rancor was quite sensitive.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to go baby Rancor like Grogu here, but I mean, I would like to see a Rancor just to see him as he grows in this role of owning the throne, like becoming more ruthless, becoming more Boba, and then having something like that, I think would be pretty cool. And I do think, I don't know about episode 3, but I keep saying it. I think we're going to see Kira in this show. I just, especially with the Pike Syndicate, like that was pulled, that was in Solo, the big train, like it just makes a lot of sense. And then also, most important one here, Dengar is going to show up at some point. We're going to get Dengar. He will be here.
Dengar train.
See, the Tuscan Raiders,
Population 1.
They wear wraps around their heads just like Dengar. It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's just a little hint
Indeed.
towards the future of everyone's favorite overweight bounty hunter who looks the least qualified out of the group.
He's got a dad bod. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
That's
in now, so you got to bring him back.
For sure. All right, Mike, your predictions.
So I think it's going to... I go back and forth with if I think the Tuscan story is done or if they're going to keep going with it for a little bit. In my mind, I keep going back and forth because I think that it is going to lead up to a point where there's going to be a flashback where Boba ends up at Fennec's lifeless body.
Okay.
And then that's when we're done with flashbacks.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to lead up to the episode of The Mandalorian where he shows up on the planet where Grogu's meditating. I don't think the flashbacks are going to lead up to that point. I think it's going to lead up to the point where how he got connected with Fennec. Maybe we're going to, and I don't think this is going to be this episode 3, but maybe because this series has been so flashback oriented, maybe it is. That they lead up to where he finds Fennec on the sands of Tatooine.
Yeah.
It was Tatooine, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then shows a little bit of flashback of their relationship, of them building their relationship together, and how essentially Fennec was brought back to life.
I mean, in reality, Fennec owes him a life debt.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why I think the heel turn will be much more surprising at the end of the season.
Interesting.
I also, do you want predict? I still think Cobb is going to show up at some point.
Okay. Would love it.
And now, because the Hutts, they're down the clown. And Fennec and Boba are going to need an army, and he is now boys with the Tuscans, and now we're going to unite all the tribes of the Tuscans.
Ooh.
And because Cobb Vanth is now boys with the Tuscans, he's going to come into play, and it's going to make like an all-out war type of situation happening on Tatooine.
I like it. That'd be cool.
I can dig that. I love the predictions.
But there's only... 5 episodes left?
4, right? Is it 7 or 8?
7.
5 to go. Because 5 plus 2 equals 7. But late at night, 5 plus 2 also could equal 8.
And as we also know, 3 is a magic number.
That's right. Indeed. Well, the magic number for us is Book of Boba Fett 2.
Mm-hmm.
This brings us to the conclusion of
our... What about the comments?
Oh,
I got a comment. I got
2.
I didn't write them down. I didn't write it down on my agenda, so I didn't have them on top of my brain. Yes.
No worries.
So we're introducing a new.
You're welcome, everyone.
I'm not even going to edit this out. I don't care. We are introducing a new concept to the agenda of this show, and it's weird and crazy comments we've read about the show on any social media platform, and we're not going to reveal any names. We're just going to steal the content and reveal it and react to it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not prepared, so I'm going to that was my idea, and I'm going to deliver it to Damien.
All right. So I got my comment from superherohype.com on Facebook, which I am a top fan. Don't want to brag, but got that badge.
You got the badge, huh?
So somebody on there,
NBD.
I'm going to add it to my LinkedIn, I think, tonight. So they post every week. They like a spoiler thread, and the first comment I saw was the only comment I needed to see, and it was throw Boba from the train.
Ooh. Ooh.
How did you hate the train scene? It was so like that was the most action that we've had in Book of Boba Fett so far.
Yeah.
And someone's just like, nah, throw Boba from the train. See ya.
All right, I found one in 2 seconds. I searched out the hashtag Book of Boba Fett on Twitter. This is number 3, and it's a kind one. There was a mean one I passed. I'm gonna do the kind one. It's of course Boba Bantha, and it says that face when you just got your first car and you pull up in front of your mates.
That's good.
We'll retweet that so you can go ahead and follow me on ASWPOV.
That is funny.
Check that out. All right, Mike.
All right, so I got 2. I'm only going to do 1 because the first one's not that funny. I just laughed at how it was written. So the second one, it was literally from the Star Wars Instagram of like episode 2, Book of Boba Fett, and scrolling through the thousands of comments. I mean, the 3 of us know on any social media site, on anything that is harmless, it'll go to racist, to sexist, to homophobic, to everything. And this, I just found, it is none of this, my comment is none of those things. But you have to sift through all of that garbage
Right.
to get to, I better not have waited a week for 20 minutes. I guess I'm learning what my girlfriend's disappointment.
Nice.
I mean, 20 is
Nice.
not bad. That's, but hey, set that
Oh my
bar
God,
high,
I love
fella.
that. I love that.
Whoever that person was.
I'm finding a lot now. This is why we should maybe make this more of a premiere segment. Chapter 2 just made Anakin slaying the Tuscan Raiders more tragic.
Ooh. Okay.
Lord. My God.
There's a lot of good ones. Like I
There's a
like.
good one.
I appreciate the humor ones out there.
There's one for Mike here. It's me during episode 2 of Book of Boba Fett, and it's the skeleton meme on the bench, and it says, waiting for the flashback to end, but the flashback never ends.
This other comment I found on the same thread was this one random guy in all caps and I'm sorry, no, the first thing was 5 exclamation points. What an episode! And then in all caps with 4 exclamation points. Great job to all who worked on it. Like Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau are going to read the comment section of Star Wars Instagram and be like, hey, this guy gets it. This guy understands. Thanks, random citizen. It had 2 likes. So 2 people were like, yeah, great job to whoever worked on this.
I found one, and literally all it says, Chapter 2, Book of Boba Fett, and it's all because of him, and it's a GIF of Patton Oswalt giving a thumbs up.
Yeah. That's
short. It's
Robert.
It's pretty crazy.
Robert Rodriguez didn't direct that episode, by the way.
But he was the mayor though, right? He did voice the mayor.
Montage.
A female director, Steph Green, directed that episode. She's an Oscar and Emmy nominated director.
No relation to Seth, right? Or Danny?
I have no idea about that. The final one I'll read, just because we're hitting the hour, we're getting close to an hour and a half.
We had fun.
Today's the day. Hashtag Book of Boba Fett. Now it's Fennec and it's Boba, poorly photoshopped in a convertible car, and it says, "Get in, loser. We're going to rule with respect." And I'll retweet that over on ASWPOV, and that's so funny.
See, the internet's good sometimes.
The internet's so good, so good.
It's so great and so terrible.
For sure, for sure. So this was Bob number 2. We've got Mike.
Woke up this morning.
You know, Teo.
We've got Damien. I have no sound clip for you.
I do not have any music out there. I'm sorry, guys.
That was Teo. That was Damien. You know what? I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go through your YouTube videos and I'm going to steal words from them, and then I'm gonna recreate a sentence that you said but you didn't say, and I'll work on that for next week. I am your host, Sean of Extra Techie.
And can I just throw this out real quick? Check me out on my OnlyFans at Hot and Heavy.
Onlyfans.com/Hoth and Heavy. Thank you for that. Make sure you go check out all the other socials that I do.
Amazing.
Extra.Lego. We're building the Batmobile tumbler right now. We'll be going live on YouTube this weekend, I think, on the mobile device, which should be interesting to say the least. This has been Book of Boba Fett number 2. We have spoken. We have Bob. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Casa D. Dupree. Hoth and Heavy. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. We're out of here. We're done.
This is not looking good for you.
It's not looking good for you if you listen to this entire podcast. See you next time.